Hello friends, in this video we are going to be talking about certain functions relating to date. Now there are a lot of functions relating to date in Excel, so we are going to be taking certain case studies to see in what all situations we can use date related functions. To begin with, let me first tell you that in Excel you need to be very clear as to how do we enter a date. So if I have to actually enter a date which is, let's say, 5th March 1986, then I can enter it in two ways. One is I can enter it as 5-3-1986. So I might be thinking that the first place refers to the day and the second place refers to month and the last place refers to year. However, there could be a possibility that the system settings may not refer to a date in this particular way. There could be a possibility that system recognizes the first one to be part of the month, which is May, and the second one to be part of the day, which is 3. So it can also be interpreted as 3rd May. So it is important that first of all we should understand that what is the system setting for entering a date. Alright, so it's not going to be unique in all the files, it is specific to the system that we use. So whenever you use any Excel file, you need to be very clear as to what is the system setting in terms of date. Alright, so let me enter this. It is showing 5-3-86, but I don't know whether it is interpreting it as 5th March 1986 or this is interpreting it as May 3rd 1986. So what you can do is you can use a shortcut key combination which is Control Shift 3, and once you go to a particular date and press Control Shift 3, it would apply the date formatting as DDMMMYY, and here you can see that it is now displaying this date as 5th March 1986. So effectively in my machine, when I enter a date, the first place is taken as part of day, the second one is taken as part of month, and the last one is taken as year. So you also need to first of all find out that when you use Excel file, what is the default setting for entering a date. Alright. Now another point which is important relating to a date is that in Excel, date is just a display format type. What you see over here, which is like 5th March 1986, it is a display. How it gets recorded in the backend in Excel is something else. So in order to see that what is the value which Excel is treating corresponding to 5th March 1986, what you can do, you can use Control Shift tilde. When you use Control Shift tilde, then Excel will convert this date to a numeric value. So if I just click on this and press Control Shift tilde, then you see that it is showing us a number which is 31476. Now what do we mean by this number? In Excel, basically all the dates are stored as numeric values in the backend, and the first date which is a valid date accepted by Excel is 1st January 1900, and that corresponds to a numeric value 1. So if I just put a numeric value 1 and I want to see that what it corresponds to in terms of date, I would need to press Control Shift 3. Once you press Control Shift 3, in the formula bar also you can see it is showing us as 1st January 1900. So the first valid date that we can input in Excel is 1st January 1900, and that corresponds to a serial number 1. So effectively the 2nd January 1900 is equal to 2, 3rd January 1900 is equal to 3, and so on and so forth. So that is the same logic which got applied to this, that 5th March 1986 corresponds to 31,476, wherein the starting date is 1st Jan 1900. So in Excel, all the dates are stored as numeric values in the backend. They correspond to numeric values in the backend. Alright, and if you were to see, or if you wish to see the numeric value corresponding to any date, you can use this shortcut which is Control Shift tilde to remove the date display, and then you'll be able to see the numeric value behind it. And if you were to reinstate the original date back, then you can press Control Shift 3 to bring the date value. Alright, now because of this particular feature of a date, we are able to actually use a plus and minus as well. So if I have a base date which is 5th March 1986 and I have to actually add 2 days to it, what I can do is I can simply take this date and then do a plus 2. So a plus 2 would mean that I'm going to be adding 2 more days to this base date, and the answer would be 7th March 1986. And if you were to subtract something, let's say I pick this date and I have to subtract 10 days from this, then what will happen? It will give us a date 10 days prior to 7th March 1986, which is 25th Feb 1986. Alright, so it automatically takes care of the year number and the month number, so you don't have to worry about it. You just have to do a plus and minus if you have to add or subtract days. Alright, but what do we do if we were to add or subtract months? So I have got, let's say, a base date as 5th March 1986 and I have to subtract 2 months from it so that I get the answer as 5th January 1986. Or I have to add 2 months to it so that I get the answer as 5th May 1986. Then how do we get it? Now I can't simply do a plus 60 or a minus 60 to be able to add or subtract months, because there could be a situation that in some months we have 30 days, in some months we have 31 days, and obviously in February we have 28 or 29 days, right? So we cannot simply do a plus or minus in terms of days. We need to have a formula in place which can automatically add or subtract months for us. So in Excel we have a function which is called EDATE. So EDATE function is used to add or subtract months to a base date. So if you have a base date which is 5th March 1986 and you have to add, let's say, 5 months to it, you would just put a plus 5 for a normal 5 number, and that will give you, it's giving us a numeric value, and you know how to convert that numeric to date. Let's press Ctrl Shift 3. So what has happened, I had written the formula as equal to EDATE. The base date was 5th March and I added 5 months to it, so ideally I should get the answer as 5th August 1986, and that's precisely what we are getting out here. Alright, and in this case, if instead of putting a plus 5 I had written a minus 5, then effectively from 5th March 1986 5 months would have got subtracted. So we would get a date which is 5 months prior to this, which is 5th October 1985. So you can use EDATE function to add or subtract months to a given date. Alright, but sometimes what happens is that you might not want to just add or subtract months, you might want to add or subtract years. So I want to add or subtract years. So if I've got a date which is 5th March 1986 and I want to add 3 years to it, so that the result should be 5th March 1989. So how do I add 3 years? Now we have a function called EDATE which is used to add or subtract months, but we do not have a direct function which can help us add years. But obviously we can use the EDATE function to do the similar thing for years as well, because 1 year is going to be exactly equal to 12 months. Alright, so we can use in case of adding the years or subtracting the years, in that case as well we can use EDATE. So if I have to add 3 years to it, I would take 3 multiplied by 12. So basically adding 3 years is equivalent to adding 36 months. Alright, so when you do that, then it gives us a numeric. Let's press Ctrl Shift 3 and it gives us 5th March 1989. And similarly, if I have to subtract 3 years, I would put minus 36 or minus 3 into 12, which will give us 5th March 1983. Alright, now sometimes what happens is that I have a date which is 5th March and I want to add 2 months to it, but I do not want the exact day. I want the end of each month. Now what I need is, I need to do 2 things. I want to add or subtract months and also get last date of the month. In that case we use an Excel function which is called EOMONTH. So EOMONTH function is used to add or subtract months to a base date, and whatever the result is, the Excel function, EOMONTH function, will give you the last date of that particular month. So for example, if I'm going to be using EOMONTH and I pick the start date as 5th March 1986 and I add 2 months to it. So what Excel is going to do, Excel is first going to add 2 months to 5th March. That makes it 5th May 1986. And in the next stage, it will find out that what is the last date of that particular month. So the last date of that particular month is 31st May 1986. So that's precisely the result would be from EOMONTH. So EOMONTH, the base date 5th March, comma 2 is going to give you the result as 31st May, because it will add 2 months to the base date, which is going to be 5th May, and the last date of that month would be 31st May, which is precisely what you get out here. Alright, and if you were to subtract 2 months, then 5th March 1986 minus 2 months will be 5th January 1986, and the last date of that month would be 31st January 1986. Alright, now we have a function called EOMONTH to get the last date of the month. If I have to just get the last date of 5th March, what I would need to do is, corresponding to 5th March, I need to get the last date of the month, which is 31st March. So effectively in this case, how many months do I need to add or subtract? Basically nothing. So I'm neither going to add any months nor going to subtract any months. So I'll just keep the number of months as 0, which will mean that in the first stage it's going to add 0 months to the base date. So the date will remain 5th March, and then in the next stage it's going to give us the result as 31st March 1986. Alright, so we have EOMONTH function to get last date of the month, but we do not have any direct function which can give us the first date of the month. So if you were to get the first date of the month, then you have to actually apply or think of a certain trick which can give us that, because there is no Excel function which can give us the first date of the month directly. So we do not have a function corresponding to EOMONTH which can give us the first date of that month. So what we can do is, we need to devise a logic or think about a logic which can give us the first date corresponding to a base date. So if I again take the base date as 5th March and I have to get the first date of this particular month, then it means I have to be thinking of a logic which can give me the first day of the same month. Now let me actually put it this way. In order to get first day corresponding to a base date, you may use the following trick. What is that? In the step number 1, subtract 1 month. Subtract 1 month from the base date and get the last date of that month. So what will happen if you do that? Let me just take 5th March 1986 and subtract 1 month from it. So if you use EOMONTH, then what's going to happen, when you subtract 1 month, it will take you to 5th February 1986, and the last date of that month would be 20th February 1986. That is something that you get in step number 1. Then after that, add 1 day to above date. So what will happen on this, if you do a +1, then you get 1st March 1986. So that's a trick that we can use to find the first day corresponding to a base date. So effectively, if I just combine these two together, it's going to be EOMONTH base date -1 and then do a +1. So this -1 will subtract the month, give you the last date of the previous month, and a +1 will take you to the first date of the current month again, which is 1st March 1986 in this example. Alright, so that's about adding days, months and years. And sometimes what might happen is that you have a base date and you want to extract all of these separately, and for that we have very simple functions which are day, month and year. So if you use equal to day, I'll extract the day from the date. If you use equal to month, I'll extract the month number, which is 3, and if you use year, that's going to extract 1986. So we have these 3 functions, day, month and year, which we can use to extract the individual parameters. And once you have these 3 parameters ready, you can use a function called date to create a date out of it. So if I have these 3 parameters and I need to create a date, I can provide the first parameter as year, then the month number, and then the day, and the date function will create the date corresponding to it. So let me use Control-Shift-3, and that makes it as 5th March 1986. Alright, so we have spoken a bit about the date related functions. Now let's get to these case studies. The first question out here is that what formula tells us if these 2 dates are part of the same month or not? So the first date is 9th November 2016 and the second date is 3rd November 2016. So how do I get to know that both of these dates are part of the same month. So effectively, when would you say that both dates would be part of the same month? When the month number is same for both of the dates, and also the year number should be same. So if the first one is say 9th November 2016 and the second one is 3rd November 2018, then these two dates are not part of the same month, because the month is same but the year number is not same, because in the year number in date 1 would be 2016 and the year number in date 2 would be 2018. So effectively both the month number and the year number have to be same. So what can we do? We can actually use EOMONTH function in this example. How? So if the EOMONTH of this particular date, without adding any months to it, what will happen? The last date of this month would be given to us as 30th November 2016. And what is the last date corresponding to this date without adding any months? That's also going to be 30th November 2016. So if the last date corresponding to these two dates is going to be same, then we would say that both dates are part of the same month. So effectively what I'm saying out here is that we would need to use EOMONTH, pick this date number 1, add 0 months to it. Alright, this will give you 30th November 2016, and just try to make it equal to EOMONTH, pick the second date and again add 0 months to it. So if the EOMONTH of these two dates by adding 0 months to it give you the same dates, then we would say that both the base dates are part of the same month. Like in this case, you can see it's going to give you the result as true, because the EOMONTH of the first date by adding 0 month will give you 30th November. Let me just show you here. This comma 0 is going to give you 30th November, and here also 3rd November will also have the corresponding end of month date as 30th November. So both of these are equal. That's why we get a true value out here, because the EOMONTH of both of these dates by adding 0 months is giving us the same result. So that's a trick that we can use over here to find out whether both the dates are part of the same month. Now here we had only 2 dates, so it was pretty simple. But let's imagine a situation that you have a date list. Like in the next example, you have a list of 5 or 6 dates, or you might be having a, let's say, a list of 100 different dates. How would you find out that all of those dates are part of the same month, right? Because in example number 1 we had only 2 dates, so we were able to find out the EOMONTH for those 2 dates and we compared it. But if we have, let's say, 6 dates or 5 dates, how would you do it one by one for all of that? That will be difficult. So over there we also need to use or think of a certain trick which can help us get the result. Now let's imagine that you have the list out here, and out of that list, if I'm able to find out what is the first date in the list and the last date in the list, right? Not in terms of the serial number, but what is the first date out of the entire lot. So what is the minimum date out of the list and what is the maximum date out of that list, right? Let me first get those 2 dates out. And if the minimum date and the maximum date are part of the same month, then we would say that both the dates belong to the same month. And if the min date and max date are part of the same month, then effectively we can safely assume, or we can safely say, that all the intermediate dates would also be part of the same month, right? So in this case, the minimum date is 25th November, the maximum date is 30th November, and if we are able to find out that the EOMONTH of the minimum date and the EOMONTH of the maximum date are equal, then both the dates would be part of the same month, and effectively all the dates between these two min and max dates would also be part of the same month. So what we need to do is, here also we would write a pretty similar formula which is going to be equal to EOMONTH. In this case, the start date will be the min of this list, comma 0 months to be added, because I just need the end of that particular month, equal to EOMONTH. Now I would pick the max of this list, comma 0, and then enter. So here you can see the min date is 25th November, the max date is 30th November. So the EOMONTH of 25th November, comma 0 will give you 30th November, and the EOMONTH of maximum date, which is 30th November, comma 0, is also going to give you the same date. So both the dates are equal, so all of the dates in this list are part of the same month. And if I simply copy and paste this formula here as well, in the second list then you can see that it shows us false because the min date in this case is 28 November, right? If I show you, the min date in this list is 28th November and the max date in this list is 3rd December, and if you use EOMONTH here, then that gives you 30th November, and the EOMONTH corresponding to max date gives you 31st December. So these two are not equal. That is why you get false. Alright, so if the min date and max date are not part of the same month, effectively we can say that these end dates given in the list are not part of the same month. Alright, now there could also be a situation that you have a list like out here. You have a list which contains the dates in October, November and December as well, but we have to find out that whether these dates in the list are in the given date range or not. So we have a defined date range which is like 1st October 2016 to 31st December 2016. I need to find out whether all the dates in my list are part of this particular date range or not. So the date range is starting from 1st October and ending on 31st December. So I just need to make sure that all the dates in my date list number 3 need to be between this particular date range. Alright, so how do we ensure that? Here also we need to devise a tactic which is find out the minimum date in the list. What is that minimum date? Let me put that min function here just for the reference purpose. That min date is 8th October, and what's the max date? Max date is 3rd December. Now first look at the minimum date. The minimum date in my date list is 8th October 2016. Whether that is between 1st October to 31st December or not, it is, yes. And then go to the max part, whether 3rd December is between this range or not, that is also in this particular range. So how do we check for these two conditions? So if the minimum date is greater than equal to start date and the maximum date is less than equal to end date, then we can say that the dates given in our list belong to a certain date range. Alright, so there are two conditions that we have to fulfill, and those two conditions can be checked by using a logical function called AND. So AND function is typically used when you have multiple conditions to be checked. Like in this example, I want to make sure that both the conditions, condition number 1 which is this and condition number 2 which is related to max date being less than equal to end date, these two conditions need to be fulfilled. And when you need to make sure that both the conditions need to be fulfilled, then you can use AND logical function. So AND checks whether all the arguments are satisfied or not, or whether all the conditions are fulfilled or not. So what is condition number 1? Condition number 1 is the minimum date. The min of this needs to be greater than or equal to this. So the minimum date has to be at least 1st October or more than this. It cannot be before that. That's why I'm putting greater than or equal to. That it has to be either greater than 1st October or equal to 1st October. But it cannot be less than 1st October. It cannot be prior to 1st October. Right? That is my condition number 1. Comma. Condition number 2 is the maximum date in our list cannot be more than this, which means that it has to be either less than 31st December or equal to 31st December. That is our condition number 2. So this is precisely what I've mentioned here, that min date needs to be greater than or equal to start date and max date needs to be less than or equal to end date. And if both the conditions are fulfilled, then you would get the answer as true. And if I simply copy and paste this formula here, you can see it's showing us false. Why? Because the min date in this example is 8th October and the max date is 3rd December. But what is the date range? The date range is 1st November to 31st December. So the min date of 8th October is obviously not greater than or equal to 1st November. So the condition is not fulfilled. Alright. So these are the questions and case studies which I wanted to actually discuss with you to explain the utility and the usage of the various date related functions. I hope you are now clear on the basic date related functions and you're able to use it practically in the real life situations as well. I hope you liked the video. Thank you very much and stay tuned for further videos. Bye bye.